Hey there, it's Sara, and I'm coming at you with a shorty episode of the No More Wasted Days podcast. Today, I'm going to be walking you through what it looks like to be a day in the life of me as a sober person. Essentially, I'm going to be telling you all of my daily routines. And I want you to know that routines are so important. There will be times in this where I'm sharing my routine, and I want you to know that you can take parts of my routines, but if there are parts of them that don't feel good to you, they don't feel like the right fit for you, then make it your own. Every person is different, and there's a lot of power in going through your own journey and deciding what routines fit for you. Now, to help you do this, I have created a free guide all about creating routines in your life that will support your alcohol-free journey. To download that guide, just head to the show notes of this episode and click the link that's there, and I will send you that guide so you can look a little more closely at my routines, but you can also start forming your own routines that will support your alcohol-free journey. Now, let's dive into this topic. Drinking was a huge part of my life. It was a huge part of my everyday routine. So when it was time for me to set up new everyday routines, it was a little overwhelming. But today I'm going to go through my morning routine, my nighttime routine, and my midday routine. And like I said, I want you to listen to this and go, okay, that sounds great. I'm going to take bits and pieces of that. The other thing I want you to know is when you are creating your own routines, I want you to realize that it is okay to say, I don't like that part. I'm going to change that part. A big reason I talk about routines with people is because we will get what is called decision fatigue throughout the day. And you can push off that decision fatigue by putting certain things on autopilot for your life. Now, there are also parts of my routines that are little dopamine boosters for me. And I did an episode a while back on dopamine, but essentially dopamine is the thing that creates the addiction when it comes to alcohol. So if you can start putting little dopamine boosters into your daily routine, and they happen every single day, then your desire to drink to get that dopamine will be lower. So routines help us in the way that they make it easier for us to say no to alcohol at the end of the day because we have less decision fatigue, and also we can add in those little dopamine boosters. So first off, I want to talk to you about my morning routine. Now, I'm going to talk about my morning routine, and then I'm going to also give ideas of other things that you can add in. My morning routine right now, as it stands, is I wake up at about, don't even freak out about the wake up time, okay? Let's just say I wake up about 2.5 hours earlier than my family needs to be out the door for the day. So about 2.5 hours earlier than my kids get on the bus for school, I start my morning routine. My alarm goes off and I tend to hit snooze one time. I give myself that one time, but I usually don't fall back asleep. I just lay in bed. I've got to recommend to you an alarm clock that is not your phone. That makes it a lot easier to not just sit there and scroll on your phone. But if your phone must be next to you, I also suggest putting it into downtime mode where you have to click through on apps to allow yourself 1 minute or 15 minutes. That's just one little step to get you out of your bed a little faster. So my alarm clock goes off. I hit snooze once, and then I finally get out of bed. Now, this morning routine is going to sound a little wacky to you because remember, right now I currently live in a yurt, and we do have our house that is somewhat complete as well. So I get out of bed, I put on my clothes, and I head over to our house. And then I'm in my house and I feed our little cat Cosmo, who sometimes tries to make an appearance on this episode, but I feed him and then I make my little drink concoction. Now, this drink concoction used to be my pre-workout drink, but as of November 4th, I think. I'll have to check that date on my tracker. I gave up caffeine. So it's been a little harder to get out of bed, I'm not going to lie, but it is something I'm doing for at least 30 days to see if it helps out with some anxiety issues I've been having. So I get out of bed, and now what I make is a hydrate drink. So I currently use just a hydrate drink that I have that's from Beachbody. I don't even know if they still make it, but I have a lot of it. When I'm through that, I think I'm just going to switch to liquid IV. And into that, I add my collagen that has a little bit of protein, and I add my creatine. These are two supplements that I take to help with my skin, my hair, my nails, and also the creatine helps with muscle recovery. And I really like to weight train when I work out, so that creatine is helping with that muscle recovery. So I make my drink concoction and then I head over to my chair and I sit down and I do a meditation through the Unplug app or the Gabby app. And I will link both of those for you. I do my guided meditation and then it's time to get out my line a day journal. I write down what happened the day before very quickly in that. And then I get out my other journal where I write down my gratitudes. And then I write down my daily affirmations. And then I do a big brain dump. After all of that is done, I usually do a little bit of work for No More Wasted Days, which I don't recommend for a morning routine, but right now in my life, that's where I'm fitting it in. And then I go do my workout. By the time my workout is over, it's time to go wake up my kids. They all get going and we head off to school. Or they head off to school. So that's my morning routine as it stands right now. So how did I come up with this morning routine? Well, there's one book that I read that really helped me form this morning routine, and it's called The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. I will link that in the show notes as well if you're interested. So I really wanted to take on this morning routine when I was a drinker, and I tried to because that's when I read the book, and I just wasn't able to. But I finally started this morning routine once I quit drinking. Now, you just heard my morning routine, and you're going to hear Hal Elrod's idea of a morning routine, and you may hear that not all of my things are in there. What he suggests you do is go through what he calls the SAVERS. SAVERS is an acronym for silence, affirmations, visualize, exercise, read, and scribe. Now, if you remember my morning routine, I did not read in my morning routine, and I do not visualize. Instead, I do affirmations. Instead, I do gratitudes as part of mine, and I have my other journal where I just write down a little bit about what happened the day before. But this is a great starting point. So Hal Elrod suggests that you do 10 minutes of each of these in your morning routine, which equals 1 hour. I have also adjusted this because my workouts are about 30 minutes, and that's why I took out some bits and pieces that just didn't fit for me. But I do highly suggest looking at this book and listening to him go through the savers. Now, again, those savers are silence, which can be meditation, affirmations, which for me, I write my affirmations down, but when I'm short on time, I just say them out loud. Visualize. You could visualize yourself saying no to alcohol. You can visualize yourself being successful through your day. Exercise. I create lifting workouts for myself, and they're in a notebook where I can track the weights that I do. But there's so many workout apps out there like Peloton or the Body app, or just start searching and you're going to find so many if you want guided exercise routines. And then the next letter is R for read, and you can read a short amount of a personal development book for this, and then scribe. Now, for me, my scribing is my gratitude journal, and that's how I get this piece in. But for you, it may be something else. So go check out that book as an idea, but also remember you can check out that routines guide that I've linked in the show notes of this episode. Now, the next thing to look at for me is your midday routine. So I've gotten through my day, which usually consists of us either working on our house build or working on computer work for No More Wasted Days. And after that day is over, the kids have gotten home, it's time for my midday routine. This is when, as a brand new drinker, I was the most triggered to drink. I would have those cravings because it was the normal time for me to drink. So this is the part that I really want you to hone into, and I really want you to work on creating this midday routine. So here's mine. I pick up my kids from the bus stop, and then sometimes we run some errands, but sometimes we just head home. When we head home, I set them all up for success on doing their chores after school. And at that point is when I can usually sneak in a little computer work if I need to make it happen. And then I typically take our dog on a walk down our road so she can potty for the night. And then she gets her food and her little chewy that she loves so much. And then after that, it's time to start dinner. When it's time to start dinner, I pop in a podcast, I make myself my tonic drink with grapefruit and lime juice, and then I cook up dinner. While I'm cooking dinner, I typically will take some time to clean up the kitchen a little bit and maybe do a little picking up of our living space, but mainly I'm just trying to make it a nice space, get the table set, and have us be ready for dinner. And then we eat our dinner, and then it actually goes into our evening routine. So for for me, when I look at my midday routine, some of my dopamine boosters for me are getting that podcast that I'm listening to. It's usually a funny podcast. I really love doing that. It really helps me out. Having a drink that is not an alcoholic beverage, going on a walk with my dog outside. That's a little dopamine boost for me. And then just having that structure helps me so much. So I really want you to look at your midday routine. This usually ranges anywhere from about 4 to 7 p.m. So for some people, it's going to be longer. For some people, it's going to be shorter. But I really want you to start thinking, what can I do during that time to give me some little dopamine boosts and just to reawaken me so I'm ready for this next part of my day. Now, very last is your evening routine. When people first quit drinking, they often say, I'm not sleeping well. My body is off balance and it's not quite figuring out how to get that great sleep. Well, an evening routine can help so much. So what does an evening routine look like for me? After we've eaten dinner and the dinner chores have gotten done, we all settle in and watch a show as a family. I live in a very small space with my family, so it just works easier for all of us to watch the same show. We usually pick out a series that we're just watching each evening. So we watch a show. Maybe we have a little treat like berries and whipped cream or some ice cream. That doesn't happen every night, but sometimes it does. And then it's time for everybody to go to bed. Once that happens is when I brush my teeth, take out my contacts, and then make sure I have my workout clothes all laid out for the next day. And then I head to bed and I make sure my alarm is set. And then I read a few pages from a fiction book until I get too tired. Now, I really do try to do the fiction book reading over self-help because I feel like self-help books require a little bit more thinking from me, and I just need to be entertained before I drift off to sleep. It's also just something I find a lot of joy in, and it's something I didn't do when I was a drinker, so it just makes me feel so good to have this habit in place now as a non-drinker. Once I start getting so tired that I keep dozing off as I'm reading, I know it's my signal that it's just time to go to bed. So then I double check that my alarm is set. And then as I'm falling asleep, I tell myself, I'm going to sleep great tonight. I'm going to wake up tomorrow, and when my alarm goes off, I'm going to feel excited and energized for the day. And then I'll do my morning routine, and it will be great. I really go to bed thinking positive thoughts. Now, they're not always those thoughts, but I really do try to lay in bed and think positive thoughts and put some energy towards waking up in the morning and feeling great. And then as I fall asleep, I count my breaths in groups of 6. On 1, I inhale, 2, exhale, 3, inhale, 4, exhale, 5, inhale, 6, exhale. And then I restart it until I fall asleep. And I kid you not, I feel like I don't even get through it one time anymore because my body knows that this breathing exercise is the way I fall back asleep. And pro tip, I use that when I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't fall back asleep. I will start counting my in and out breaths in groups of 6, and it really helps my brain go, oh yeah, this is the thing we do right before we fall asleep. So that is my evening routine. Now, obviously, everybody's evening routine is going to be different. Some people are going to have an intense facial routine that they do. Maybe you don't work out in the morning, so you don't lay out your workout clothes, but just think of all the ways you can set yourself up for success. I've heard of some people writing a to-do list before they go to bed so they can get everything out of their mind. I do that first thing in the morning, so that's what works for me. But I really want you to look at these 3 areas of your day, and I want you to say to yourself, okay, I've listened to Sara go through her day in the life as a sober person. Now what routines can I set up for myself in the day in the life of my sober journey? So really go through, solidify these routines, and remember to download that guide that I have for you because it's just going to help you walk through this process and just make it a lot easier and simpler. And the last thing I want to leave you with is the idea that maybe some people think routines are really boring because it means the same thing is just happening every single day. There are a lot of things in my day that are totally different, but by having these routines that happen that are very consistent in my day, it makes it so I can tackle those things that are different with confidence. And when my drinking brain does decide to start talking to me and say, hey, maybe you should have a drink, I have more energy to say no to that thought because I didn't have to think about what I was doing for my morning routine, midday routine, or evening routine. Okay, I really hope this helps you so much, and I hope you are feeling super excited to create your own routines in your alcohol-free life. If you haven't already, be sure to leave a review for this podcast and subscribe, and check out all the links in the show notes so you're set up with all the tools you need for success. All right, I'll be in your ear next week. Thanks for listening.